Welcome to Business Talk, where we dive deep into the latest trends and innovation shaping the world of technology and business. Great to be with you again. I'm your host, Michael Avery, as you know, and we're talking about low-code development platforms today, which are designed to accelerate the process of building and deploying software applications by reducing the amount of manual coding required. And it really is a remarkable breakthrough, and it's achieved through visual interfaces, pre-built components, and automation tools. And I think with the rise of artificial intelligence, we're certainly seeing the rise of low-code development. So my next guest is Botha van der Vyver, who's the founder and CEO of JustSolve. Botha, absolute pleasure to have you with us today because your expertise in the realm of low-code development is truly impressive. And I'm really excited to find out just how it's revolutionizing software development projects and accelerating digital transformation for business. But before we dive in, could you just share a bit about your background and the mission behind JustSolve?
Thank you, Michael, and thank you for hosting me. I appreciate the opportunity. So I come from a software development background myself, and I used to be a developer, architect, and moved through the ranks. And when I started JustSolve, I was faced with quite a challenge where my first client said to me, listen, we've got this piece of software we need to write. Our business model has changed drastically over the last 2 years, and the system we had was no longer applicable. So we took this scope of work, we looked at it, and we said, this is a 12 to 14 month piece of work. We went back to the client and presented our findings, and they said, well, that's okay, budget-wise, but time-wise, we only have 4 months to make the business model work. And so that prompted me to look at other avenues and other approaches to software development to see how we can meet these clients' needs in a short amount of time. And so the mantra in JustSolve of writing the least amount of code to solve a problem became part of our ethos. And so what we have done since then, we actually delivered that project in 3.5 months, by the way, and we allowed that business to start operating. And from there, we expanded on it. So the successes early on proved to us that there is better ways and that less is more. So in JustSolve, we have the view of we work closely with scaled startups, but also with predominantly with enterprise and corporate clients to bridge the gap for them between this traditional pro code way of doing things, the traditional way, if I can put it that way, and the new way using progressive technology and hyper automation, of which low code and AI and RP, all of that it gets encompassed into this hyper automation drive and trend that we're seeing. So the JustSolve way is to help our clients, because the two will inevitably, the traditional and the progressive ways will coexist. So a lot of companies don't know how to navigate the use cases and the chasm between these two. So we literally come in, we build a bridge between the two and help them distill when to use which technology based on the use case. So it's not a one size fits all, definitely not.
Yeah. But it's important to have someone who can be that bridge to understand what is the traditional, the legacy way of doing things versus the new low code way of doing things. And I think that's a huge differentiator for JustSolve in the marketplace in South Africa. Let's maybe start with some first principles here. How does low code accelerate digital transformation? And I think any executive will want to understand, how does it increase ROI on software development projects?
Yeah, thank you, Michael. So the first thing that is important to understand is that low code and automation accelerates, let's say, about 60% of your complete software development lifecycle, right? So you can get a 4 to 10 times ROI on low code based on the 60% of the software development lifecycle you use to implement with low code. Because I think the misunderstanding that executives have, when they look at a 4 to 10 times ROI, they look at the whole process of software development. remember, you still have a business analyst that goes and analyzes the requirements. You still have a UX designer that goes and designs the user journeys and maps out the value maps and brings the personas into the business analysis side to map the business rules. All of that work still needs to be done. So for you to really realize a 4 to 10 times ROI, you need to make sure that the flow of work throughout the whole software development lifecycle flows, and that, because once you get going, your analysts and your BAs and your system analysts and your UX designers can almost not keep up. So that it's a good problem to have where business used to wait for IT is now waiting for business. And so you need to realize you can get the ROI, but you're going to have to put some things in place to make sure you don't compromise that flow of work. And if we then just dive a little bit deeper, Michael, into the ROI that they can expect. I mean, looking at some of the latest published figures, you can realize a 6 to 10 times increase in go-to-market, which really speaks to seizing opportunities, right? So that in itself has got an opportunity cost. And then secondly, your developers are obviously expensive. There's skill scarcity, not just in South Africa, globally. And how do you do more with less? So how do you make your development team more productive? So using low code, you can actually make your developers 3 to 10 times more productive. Then if you look at ongoing running cost, for instance, a lot of these low-code platforms come with bundled Azure or bundled AWS services in the background. So you're buying a platform that accelerates the development, but also incorporates version control, automated deployments, the term DevOps, DevSecOps. It takes care of the whole life cycle for you, which ultimately results in a 20 to 40% cost saving, a running cost saving for companies, and also reduces the refactoring cost and technical debt by about 50 to 75%. So all of these numbers, I've got one or two more stats, but I mean, you get the picture. Yeah. These things.
With fewer lines of custom code, there's often less maintenance required as well, and that obviously can lead to lower ongoing support and maintenance costs, and that will also ratchet up that ROI figure. And you spoke about scale-ups as well. I'd imagine that the ability to do this at speed allows you to then deploy a minimum viable product and then test the market and really be a lot more agile in a marketplace that, to your earlier point about your customer having to change their business after 2 years in their business model, I think the environment necessitates this kind of agility. How do all of these contribute to a quicker time to market for applications within the low-code framework?
Okay, you touched on quite a number of things there. On the first part, the less lines of code results in less maintenance in the long run. It also results in less complexity. So if you think about our mantra as JustSolve and as an independent consulting company, we always look at less is more. So we seek to subtract before we add, firstly. Secondly, we seek to make the complex more simple, because it's easy to make things more complex. It's very difficult to make things simpler. Okay. So that's the first thing that we always try and do. Then secondly, whether we're using low code or traditional, if we use traditional, we talk about less code. If we talk about low code, then we talk about low code in a different sense, that there's more automation. But even if we as a company use traditional software, we still look at AI assisted co-pilots. We still look at frameworks and architectural tools that allow for less boilerplating code and less plumbing. So everything comes down to writing less code at the end of the day, so that and using standards and practices, so that when a new developer comes in terms of maintaining that system, that it's easy for them to understand, it's easier to pick up, and they don't need to figure out what the previous developers did and why they made certain decisions. The code is relatively reflecting that to them. Then the rate of change is real, and companies cannot build everything. They have to have a different strategy. What we found where companies are quite successful is if they differentiate between what is core to their business, what is common in their business, and what is unique to their business. So if you look at something that is core, you typically want your team to work on that internally, maintain that. That is your heart and soul of your company. And then also ERP solutions, big ERP solutions can also fall into that core category because it's standard practices, it's pre-configured, it's there's modules that already do HR, logistics, supply chain, whatever the case is. So you don't necessarily want to go and reinvent the wheel, but what you want to do, and those type of systems are very expensive to maintain and expensive to expand on. So what you want to, and also slow to change. So what you want to do is you want to look at splitting your business between what is unique, and what is rapidly changing, and what is highly regulated. And you want to typically put those use cases into a type of low-code platform where you can rapidly innovate, and those then talk via integrations and APIs back to the core systems, the ERPs, and all of that. So that is definitely one way to distinguish when to use what. And that is a hybrid approach. And then in terms of MVP, it is always important to get something out quickly and test the market. So with low code, you can get something out within a couple of weeks, something big in a couple of months, whereas it used to be something small in a couple of months, something big in a couple of years. So really, it allows you to test use cases in the field very, very quickly and get that feedback and improve and expand on that.
And when it comes to the actual mechanics, I mean, how does the visual development environment, and you've got those pre-built components and you've got a drag and drop functionality, how does all of that contribute to accelerating the software development lifecycle? Okay,
so to answer that question, I'm going to reverse back a couple of years to when machines and hardware was created. So when we went from analog to digital, digital works with voltages that signals a 1 or a 0, and the 1 or a 0 represents machine language, and that's ultimately anything on your computer works with ones and zeros. So what the engineers did, they found it very difficult to code in ones and zeros, so they abstracted that into assembly languages, and from there they abstracted it into C, and then C++, and Fortran, and those fourth generation programming languages. From there on, they started abstracting that into code libraries that takes care of memory handling and this and that, and that's where Java and C# and those type of languages emerged from. Okay, so the notion of abstraction is not new. It's been there for a long time. All that low code now has gone and done is it's taken a lot of the practices between the deployment, source control, the DevOps, all of that, taken it into one single platform, incorporated logging and performance management and all of the stuff that developers had to plug into their systems. They've brought into it, and then what they've done additionally is they've taken the C# type of abstraction and put another abstraction layer on top of that, which is the visual interface, the visual interface that we know as GUIs, and allows you now to drag and drop, because in the background, when you compile the low code, it actually compiles to C#, which then compiles to machine language. So if you understand these abstraction layers, it's almost a no-brainer that it's a logical next step in the evolution of programming. But what we're seeing now on top of and together with, side by side with the visual interfaces, we're seeing the prompt engineering, the generative AI, and the ability to also verbalize your thoughts to the AI chatbot to help you with the programming. So that's a native communication channels that are opening up now as well. That works well together with the visual.
It's a remarkable evolution, right? If you listening to you talk about it, but it sounds so natural in terms of the evolution, a very intuitive evolution that we're seeing in the coding language ecosystem. How do low-code platforms address the crucial aspect of complex customization and integration with existing systems? And you did say that it potentially is suitable for some parts of the business and not others. Would you say it's maybe not suitable when it comes to complex customization? But maybe let's just start with that question of how it addresses complex customization integration with existing systems.
There's a term called no code, and then there's low code. Okay, and then second to that, there's also not all low code platforms are created equally. So firstly, the notion of no code is platforms that allow you to drag and drop and create something and do a quick prototype, but you can't expand on it. You can't actually complement it with custom coding, and so it's not that extensible. It is literally for the democratization of software development and for citizen developers. So a business analyst or a product owner or a business owner can spin up a little system for themselves and get going. Example of that is Airtable and others. So that is no code platforms. Okay, so if you're going to use a no code platform, you don't need our services. And it's probably gonna create a lot of limitations for you going forward, but it might get you to your own version of the MVP. Nothing wrong with it; it's got its place, but that is not where we play. So back to the low code side of things, there's certain platforms we support. The number one leader in the Forrester and Gartner quadrant. We've adopted that platform 7 years ago. And so we saw that our customers were going to use that and going to need that in the next 5 to 10 years. So that's why we adopted it 7 years ago. Now, that's why I'm saying not all low-code platforms are created equally. Some do have limitations. They do have vendor lock-in. So you really need to do your research very well, and you need to reach out to independent partners like ourselves to help you navigate the landscape based on your use case. Okay, so with the platforms we are using, you can build core systems with it. But just because you can build something with a top leader of a low-code platform doesn't mean you should. So you have to look at the ROI. You need to look at the pros and cons. You need to look at the skill set in your company, the strategy of the company to build versus buy, to look at your resources you have available, and then make a decision of what do you want to build or not. But if you use the right low-code platform, you can build very complex and very core systems. If you use a cheaper version or a certain type of platform, you can definitely find yourself running into some limitations. What I would suggest that if you have a very, very customer-facing application like Uber, for instance, and you need flexibility to have full control over every single aspect of that application through its whole life cycle, then I would look at traditional development with automation, and which we also provide. But if you're sitting with a backlog of 100 applications or 10 applications, and business is constantly screaming at IT, when can I receive it? When will you be done? And the things are just not coming through the pipeline because of all of these constraints I previously mentioned. Then looking at a low-code platform and looking at the right strategy to incorporate that in your holistic company and your digital transformation strategy is actually not an option anymore. So Gartner says that, and this stat I'm going to give you now was actually 3 years ago that they made this prediction. They said that by 2025, 65% of all apps will be built using low code. And they also said that by 2024, 75% of organizations will have one or more low-code platforms, up to 4 low-code platforms actually within their organization.
Wow. I mean, those are incredible stats, and it's just around the corner. But, I guess if you've got a combination of everything you just mentioned, you've got pre-built connectors, you've got custom code capabilities, middleware support, visual integration, all of that. It does demonstrate the power of this low-code solution. When we look at the future, what are your perspectives on the future of low-code development, particularly given the advancements that we've seen or improvements around artificial intelligence, for example? I mean, what does the future look like?
Yeah, thanks, Michael. So just on the connector side, if you're evaluating a platform, a low-code platform, look at 2 things or 3 things at least from a starting perspective. Look at the local support of the partner network in your region. Look at the developer community and the size of that and their participation. And look at the connectors that they've got available on their, let's call it their community marketplace. Okay. There's pre-built connectors with the platform that we are using. One of the platforms we're using, there's hundreds of pre-built connectors and connectors into AWS, Google, and Microsoft Azure with all of their cognitive and AI models, their chatbots, their machine learning models. All of that is already pre-built. So it's literally drag and drop into your low-code solution, and you configure your data set and a couple of parameters, and you're good to go. Obviously, for a proof of concept, from there on, you need to enhance it based on your business case. But those 3 things, the extensibility, the integration ecosystem, the community, and your partner network and support in your area will also help you determine what is the best low-code platform for you to look at. Then in terms of the future, there's a lot happening in the AI space, and it's definitely the buzzword of the day at the moment. Everyone is talking AI, prompt engineering, generative AI, and what we see as the future is not just this 10 times. We previously mentioned productivity of a developer for increasing that 3 to 10 times. With some of the AI initiatives we're seeing on top of the local platforms, we can be expecting, and it's difficult for me to actually even verbalize and grasp myself, but we are expecting 100 times productivity gain. That is the word on. That is the word on the street at the moment. And I was actually in Portugal 3 weeks ago at a conference where they demoed the latest AI on top of the low-code platforms we are using, and which actually allows you to specify your application and the type of application using natural language and English, and then it generates an application for you for a specific use case, and then you can extend it from there. So that is the 100 times we are looking at.
Wow, that is just a remarkable thought to think that, again, what we're also seeing is a greater democratization and access into the future of this technology. But that's where we're going to have to end it, folks. Sadly, we've run out of time. Truly insightful conversation with Botha van der Vyver, founder and CEO at JustSolve. We've gained invaluable insights into how low-code development is transforming the software development landscape and really driving digital transformation inside business in South Africa. To our viewers, thank you for joining us for this enlightening conversation. I hope you've gained as much from it as I certainly have. Remember, the future of software development is looking incredibly promising with low-code at the forefront. Before we sign off, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more engaging discussions on the latest in tech and business innovation. And again, a big thank you to our guest, Botha van der Vyver, for joining us today. Botha, take care.